Everybody knows about the Injustice series. The video game series started back in 2013. It was very popular, sold millions of copies since its release. Same thing can be said for the second Injustice game, which came out about 5 years ago. And honestly, I feel that both games are very popular, not only because of its fantastic storytelling and inclusion of, high-profile DC characters, but those two games have both Superman and Wonder Woman, two of the most famous names of DC Comics, as supervillains. Now, in the first game, both Superman and Wonder Woman are, Superman's the main villain, and Wonder Woman is probably like the second main villain, and they both they both co-found this one world regime where I guess they rule the world with an iron fist and all that stuff. And the thing about these two as supervillains is the fact that they're more like anti-villains than your traditional villain who does bad things for, I guess, self-gain or what have you. What they do is they're trying to make the world a better place, but what they do basically, I don't know, like their actions are villainous for the most part, but they claim to work for a good cause. And I feel that, I guess, Superman's dictatorial behavior and basically the way he conducts himself and the way he acts and all that stuff in both games, well, especially in the first game, is a perfect example of him basically being an anti-villain. And honestly, I feel that both Superman and Wonder Woman are, I guess, character-wise, they're well-suited for that role because, I don't know, them as heroes has been getting boring since the 40s, and then you look at all the movies Superman has had, and by the time we got to Superman 4, people were getting sick of him, and then you look at the games that came out, especially the Superman game that came out in the mid-90s for the N64. That was one of the worst superhero video games, if not one of the worst video games ever, like in general, and it still gets talked about in Pan to this day. But the thing is, you look at even like video games back in the day, like Superman wasn't too popular in terms of video games, and if he was, it was always in a Justice League video game, like the Justice League game that came out, I believe, back in 1995. There was a video game that came out for the NES or the Sega Genesis. I think it came out for both game systems. That game was somewhat popular, but for the most part, DC didn't really have too many big video games that didn't involve Batman for the most part. Now, you look at old Batman games from like the late 80s and the 90s, the Batman game that was based off the 1989 movie was actually pretty decent. The Batman arcade game was pretty cool. The Batman Return of the Joker game was okay. And, like for the most part, when it comes down to Batman games, like the Arkham stuff seems to stand out more than anything else. In fact, I believe those are like some of the best games that Batman has ever been involved in. But if we look at the 90s for the most part, it seems like Marvel has had better games than DC. Like Marvel had just eclipsed DC in terms of popularity during that decade. And honestly, I don't think Wonder Woman even really had video games, and she's supposed to be getting a new video game pretty soon, and it's going to be on current gen consoles and all that stuff. And the fact that Wonder Woman is getting a new video game that's about her for the most part, centered around her and her backstory before Superman does in this day and age, says a lot about both of them. As a matter of fact, it shows you that Wonder Woman, for the most part, is more popular than Superman, depending on who you ask. But I feel like, if Superman was more popular than Wonder Woman, it'd be the other way around, but that's not the case. And, we're still getting Batman games, but I'm still waiting for a sequel to Batman Arkham Knight game that came out back in 2015. We do know that Batman Gotham Knights is supposed to be coming out sometime a little bit later this year. But yeah, I feel that both Superman and Wonder Woman, they're both better suited as villains because they're not one-dimensional characters. If anything, they're more realistic characters who want to make the world a better place. But the thing is, society has changed so much, especially since the mid-90s, where everybody prefers, anti-heroes and I guess characters that they can relate to in some way. And that's a lot of what you see with DC characters such as, I guess, Joker, Harley Quinn, Batman. I mean, Batman to me is considered more of a hero than an anti-hero, but definitely, characters like Harley Quinn and the Joker, they're way more popular than your traditional one-dimensional paragon superhero for the most part. And I feel that, the way that society has changed and evolved over time, it allowed, I guess, the creators of the Injustice series to basically take both Superman and Wonder Woman's character and, I guess, implement it in a way that works for the most part, in a way that's believable, that would make both of them popular. Because ever since the Injustice game came out back in 2013, it seemed like both characters have been more popular than ever. As a matter of fact, I believe Wonder Woman had her own movie back in 2017, and she also had her own movie back in, I believe, 2020, the Wonder Woman 1984 movie. And then I believe there was a Justice League movie that came out in 2017. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to see the Justice League the same way if you basically played, the first two Injustice games, because I don't know, it's one of those deals where even though Superman is more popular and known to the public as one of the top superheroes of DC, he's just a better villain. And the same thing could be said for Wonder Woman for the most part, because it feels more natural and it feels like something that would work in today's society as far as storytelling is concerned.